Okay, sorry, hi. Um, when you go away from something for a little while and then you forget how to do everything. Anyway, hi, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know where you're watching from. Say hi, and I hope you enjoy this little demonstration. I haven't played with paper for a couple weeks now, and we were away with our grandchildren over Christmas and totally loved it. And then we just did a few things around here for the rest of the last week, and for New Year's we just had snacks and movies and some wine and just stayed at home. And I think we were both out like a light by 10. It was pretty boring around here, but we had a really nice New Year, so I hope everybody else did too. A couple of things I just want to quickly um, show you this new catalog that will be going live next week, I believe on the 7th, whatever day that is. I think it's Tuesday, but I could be wrong. So there's a new catalog. Oh, let me go down to my desk here. I can't show you what's in it, but isn't it pretty? Beautiful. So I can't actually show you anything that's in it until January 7th. And then this spring, as always, January and February, there is celebration. So what that means is when you purchase $75 worth of product, you can pick something out of here for free. And there's some really nice things in here. And it doesn't have to be from the mini catalog. Hi, Susan. How are you? It can be from any catalog, the online exclusives, anything at all. So for $75. And then for $150, there's actually level 2 things that are like more value products. Or if you prefer the smaller products, if you buy $150 worth, then you can buy you get 2 free things. So yeah, clear as mud, right? Anyway, so yeah, these are coming out next. Well, they're out. They're here. Next week they go live. If you live in Canada and you don't have a demonstrator, I'd be more than happy to get one of those catalogs out to you. And I still haven't gotten around to mailing my local ones because if you're unaware, if you're not Canadian, we've had a national postal strike for the last month, and they've just been getting back to normal. And I still haven't received my December paper pumpkin, and I'd ordered a couple of things from the States in November, about 3 days before they went on strike. So who the hell knows where that stuff is? And so I'm just crossing my fingers that it's going to show up at some point. So what I thought I would do today is just some little cards. I'm trying to get a heads up on my, or a leg up, I guess, on my birthday cards for 2025. So these I made using the Layering Beauty, which I just had in my hot little hands. Oh, I wonder if I threw it on the floor because I was finished with it. Layers of Beauty, not Layering Beauty. So the Layers of Beauty, I made these cards out of the Layers of Beauty using the layering stencils. But we also have Enduring Beauty, which also has layering stencils. So I did these 3 using the Layers of Beauty, and I'm going to do the next one in Enduring Beauty. But I really liked my color combination that I did with this one. And this one is Petal Pink and Flirty Flamingo. And I didn't have a chance to make the card because I thought I could play in here all day and just totally forget about making the video. So I haven't done a video for a while. I thought I better get my head out of my butt and do something. So this is the Petal Pink and the Flirty Flamingo. Isn't that beautiful? I really, really love that. So I'm going to show you how I made these because there's a little twist to what you do with your stencil designs once you get them done. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Enduring Beauty And I need the dies, and I also need the stencils. So let me take out my big, stamp, and I'm going to use my stamp apparatus, which is right here. So you can use a Misty, you can use some, oh, what's that other one called that I have here? Oh, the Altenew stamp wheel. And they've just come out with a new bigger one, which I'd love to be able to justify it, but I can't. So I won't be getting one of those anytime soon. But any kind of positioning tool that you have, you can absolutely use. All right, so in mine, I do have a sticky mat, which I'm going to use. And I'm trying to think of where this sticky mat comes from. I bought it, I believe, in Oshawa at Class Act Craft Store. That's a great little craft store, by the way, if you live in that neck of the woods. And so I'm just going to use my sticky mat to hold my paper in position. And I'm just going to pop my stamp on there. I don't know why I'm so tongue-tied, honest to Pete. So I'm just going to pick up my stamp. And for this, oh, you know what? I'm going to take this off because I want to do this with gold heat embossing. And if I do this on my sticky mat won't be sticky anymore. So I'm going to do it over here. So I'm just using my embossing buddy. And I'm just going to pop that right back. I may have to move my stamp, but we'll see. Yeah, just a bit. I'll move my paper instead. And so the reason you use embossing powder is so that you, or embossing buddy, it's called different things with different companies, but ours, we call it the embossing buddy. And what it does is it eliminates any oils from your fingers or static on the paper, because you don't want the embossing powder to land where you don't want the embossing powder to land. So I'm using the Versamark ink, which is a watermark ink, excuse me, and it's very, very sticky. And when I was doing this initially, I stamped it a couple of times, and thinking that it would just give me better adhesion. And you know, to be honest with you, what it did was it just made it a little too thick. So I'm only going to stamp it one time. Now, having said that, I did re-ink my Versamark today. So yes, Versamark has a re-inker. And I'm going to emboss this in gold. So I've got my little embossing, I forget what this kit is called. I think it's Embossing Essentials or something. Now, I don't know if you can see. Probably not. It's very faint, but the design is printed, stamped onto my paper very, very lightly. So I've got my Wow Stampin' Up gold embossing powder, and I'm just going to pop that in the tray. And I'm just going to put some gold embossing powder all over my design. Let's see, I missed a spot here. I guess my stamping, I missed a little spot there, but you know what? To be honest with you, I don't think it's going to show that much. So let's just get this back in my jar. Glenn's upstairs making fruitcake, which, good for him. I hate fruitcake. But we were given some dried fruit for Christmas as part of a big basket. And he loves to bake. and he loves fruit cake. So, you know, I'm like, I don't like dried fruit, and I don't like fruit cake. So it's like, knock yourself out. And I'm trying to lose weight anyway. So I'm not heartbroken that he's making fruitcake and it won't call my name. That's the main thing, is that it isn't going to call my name. So um, good for him. He'll enjoy every bite, I'm sure. There. Okay. So that's back in the jar. And make sure you put your lid back on, because I actually, when I was working earlier, didn't have my lid back on, and I dumped gold embossing powder all over my table. So yeah, not a good idea. Now I have gold embossing powder all over my glass mat. Okay, so I'm going to grab my heat tool. I'm just going to let it warm up a little bit. Sorry if it's a little bit loud. And I'm just going to emboss my gold. Oops. I love watching it change color. It never ever gets old. I just love it. All right. So Susan, are you watching on Facebook or YouTube? If you're just joining us, please say hello and tell me where you're watching from. There. I love watching it change. You can see it go from like the brown color to the shiny gold. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind when you're doing heat embossing is that you don't want your heat to be in one spot for too long, and you don't want to overheat the embossing powder, because it will actually burn and go flat. It won't be shiny anymore. I learned that the hard way. So you just want to make sure that you keep the heat moving and that you don't overheat your embossing powder. Yeah, so there we go. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stick this onto my sticky mat. Actually, I'm going to take my sticky mat right off of my thing. Okay, so I decided I was going to recreate this colorway because I just really liked it. I thought it was really pretty. Again, so I'm using the Petal Pink and a little bit of Flirty Flamingo. Not much, but just a little bit. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Wrong remote. That's my TV remote. There. Maybe you can see kind of more what I'm doing. So I'm going to take my Petal Pink first. And I'm going to grab my pink brush, which is in here somewhere. I don't have a brush for every color. I have a brush for every color group. So my pinks, I use the same brush all the time for my pinks. I just use a piece of paper towel and take off the excess ink, just in case I was using something that was a little bit darker before, and take off the majority of the ink so that I'm not, I don't want to contaminate my lighter pink with a darker pink, and then I don't want to have too much of a dark pink on my picture here. So I'm going to ink up my brush. And oh, I need my stencils. You can see I'm out to lunch today. Okay. So stencil number 1. Now the Stampin' Up stencils, there's 5 stencils in this group. And you can, I don't know if you can see the little number 1 in the corner, and there's like a notch. So this helps you to figure out how you're going to place your stencils. So I think I have my, do I have it upside down? I don't have it upside down, but I have it on an angle. So I could do 2 things. I could put my cardboard, my cardstock on my, actually maybe I will. I'm going to line this up. Where's my number 1? It goes like this. So I'm going to line it up. The way it goes. Like this. My goodness. Okay, here. So this is what you should, what I did with some of my other ones is I actually lined up my stencil with the stamp, and then I put a mark on the stencil at the top center so that I knew that it would match. Like that's how I needed to set up my stamp when I was doing my stenciling, so that I could do my stenciling without fighting with it. And I should have done that with this, because look at me now. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Finally. Holy Dinah. Okay, so I have it like this. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm going to turn it around so that my notch is at the top, and that will help me with my setting up for my next colors, because honestly, if you have to struggle with it, you're not going to do it. So what I will do when I'm finished is I'm going to put with a little marker, a magic marker, a notch at the top of my stamp so that I know that it has to face this way to be right side up. Because I have no, anybody who personally knows me, I have the patience of 0. And if I have to fight with something, I walk away. I do not have the energy to fuss around with stuff ever. I just don't. And I don't know if it's my age. I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm a Taurus. I actually don't know. But yeah, if I have to fight with something, forget it. All right, so here I'm using Petal Pink. And I just inked up my brush. And I'm just going to go in, and I'm going to go in lightly. I just want to put a little bit of color in here. Tiny bit. And I always start on the stencil instead of on the paper, because you don't want to have that, you know how it has that blobby thing when you first start? You don't want to have that. So I'm just going to go in a little bit light. Pretty sure this needs to be re-inked, but we'll do it. And I'm putting a little bit of darkness here and there, just like a little bit more color, just to give it some variety of color here and there, like darkness, but it's all the same color. Now, when I did the Daffodil Delight, no, this was Lemon Lolly. I did it all with Lemon Lolly. I didn't use any other colors. And the same when I did the this one with the bubble bath, I did put a little bit of fresh freesia, but most of the color is actually just shades of bubble bath, just adding it over and over. And my leaves are actually Granny Apple Green, and it's just layers and layers of Granny Apple Green to get the depth of color. All right, so here is number 1. Look at how pretty that is. Ooh. Okay, so stencil number 2. Where is my stencil number 2? Now stencil number 2 goes to the leaves. So I'm going to jump to number 3. Since I have my petal pink out, I'm just going to jump to number 3, which is for the highlights on the flower. So when you're doing stenciling, if you're new to stenciling, you always start with your lightest color, because you can add color, but you can't, once you have it down there, you can't get it off. So there. So I'm using petal pink again, but I'm just going to be a little bit more heavy-handed with it. So I'm going to go in. Again, I'm starting on the stencil as opposed to on the paper, and I'm just adding a bit more color. I love stenciling. I hope Stampin' Up! Comes out with a whole bunch of new stencils in the new catalog this summer, because stenciling to me is one of the most therapeutic things that I can do. If I'm stressed out, I just grab a stencil and some paper and just do it. And there's different ways you can stencil. Like this, you know, we embossed with the gold before we started, but I've done it where I don't use any, I don't use the stamp at all. I just use the stencils. And then you can do something that's called no line stenciling, no line coloring. So you would stamp this with a very, very pale color, and then just use your stencils to add the dimension there. So if I take that off, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Gorgeous. So number 4 is actually the leaves. Oh, number 2. So number 2 is the leaves. Number 4 is the detail on the leaves. So I'm going to line that up. I find it kind of funny that they went with the leaves sort of as number 2 instead of sticking with like colors. So I'm going to grab my green brush and just clean off. I was using Granny Apple Green, so that's probably what's on it, because I did those other cards this afternoon, but just give it a quick clean just to make sure. And I'm gonna pop up my Granny Apple Green and ink it up. So you can, that's the blobbiness I'm talking about. Like you can see it with the petal pink because it's so fair. But excuse me, but if you don't do that, there's a good chance that you're going to get a smeary blob, which really, it isn't pretty. So, okay, again, I'm going to go in very light-handed. Oh, I love this already. So pretty. And I'm going to pick up this ink. Not going to waste it. It's there. And then I'm just going to go to the base of the leaves and add a little bit more color. So when I take the stencil off, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to add, and if you find that even your small brush is a little too big to do this, which I'm kind of finding that it is, you can always grab a dauber or, you know, something like that, like a sponge dauber, and just go in for a little bit of detail work at the bottom here. There. So pretty. All right, so there are our leaves, and you can see there's a bit of variation on the color. Ah, I moved it. Oh, that's probably okay. I just want to lift it up so you can see. I'll try and remember the orientation. You can see this, it's darker and lighter, and that is because of just adding more ink and using different pressures. So next is number, let's see here, number 4, and this is going to give us the detail on our leaves. So we're going to line that up. Now, if you don't have a sticky mat, you don't need a sticky mat, just use tape. So I'm adding more color. And again, I'm only using Granny Apple Green, but it looks a lot richer. Like it looks like I'm using a much darker color, and you'll see that more when I take the stencil off. But this just gives it so much dimension, and it's just so pretty. There. Is that gorgeous? Gorgeous. Okay, so for our final one here, number 5, it is the centers of the flowers. So what I'm going to do with this one, now I didn't play with this one, so I'm not sure. Where am I here? Well, this goes up here. I'm not sure how I'm going to do the color on this. Yeah, I think this lines up kind of like that. I don't think it's not a lineup on the center of the flowers here. It's just in that neck of the woods. Oops. There, close enough. So for this one, I'm going to take the Flirty Flamingo. And my same pink brush. And I'm going to ink it up. But I don't want a lot of color. I just want a bit of a highlight. So I'm just going to come in very lightly. Just to give it that little bit extra. Like a different, it's just a richer tone. Let's have a peek first. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So you can see there's a little bit of the Flirty Flamingo in there, but not a ton. And that's just what we want. All right, so I'm going to pop this out so you can see the colors. There's a little bit of Flirty Flamingo in the middle, but not a lot. So it's really, really pretty. So let's get rid of this and put these away. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out one of these, and I'm going to cut out the same shape on just a plain piece of white. And I'm just using our basic white cardstock. And I've just cut sheets into 4 equal pieces so that I would have so that it would be big enough for my flower. So this is going to go like this, and I'm just going to cut it out. So let me just cut out these 2 things. Okay. Okay, so I've cut out my color design, and I've cut out a plain white one. So next, I'm going to create our background on another piece of basic white. So for this, I'm going to take my Stamparatus again, put in my sticky mat, and I've got my stamp here, which we're going to use again But what I want to do is, here's my pencil and a ruler I need. So I'm just going to divide this piece of cardstock into 4 equal like divide it into 4. Now this, I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, but this is actually, I know it was in my description, that this is a card that Jennifer McGuire did. And I don't know, I forget which company she used, but I'm doing the same card, but with Stampin' Up products. So this is 5.5. It's a little bit longer than 5.5, my great cutting. So 2 3/4 is halfway. So I'm just going to make a mark. And I'm using a T ruler because that allows you to have good straight lines. So I'm very lightly going to draw a pencil line. And then halfway on 4 1/4, it's 2 1/8. So again, I'm going to draw a line at 2 1/8. If you don't have a T ruler, I highly recommend getting one. There. So I've divided my paper into 4 quadrants. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this right along, you can see the gridded lines along here on the background. There's like printed lines if you have a Stamparatus. If you have a different brand, then you will, actually I'm going to put it down here because I want my stamp to hang over. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a pen, and I can clean this off with a bit of alcohol after. So I'm just going to put a pen here, little pen mark, because I want to make sure that my corner is always in the same spot when I rotate my paper. So I'm going to take my floral image and I'm going to pop it in like this. Do I want that one or do I want this side? Or like this? I think I like this better. Okay, so I'm going to pop it in here and I want it to fill up as much as I can on that quadrant. So I've got that like that. I'm going to pick up my stamp. And I also have a piece of scrap paper here. It's just typewriter paper because I'm going to stamp this flower in the petal pink, but I want it to be second generation of the stamping. So I'm going to take my petal pink and I'm going to ink up my flower. And I'm going to stamp it off once. And then I'm going to stamp it into the quadrant there. So what you see is a very, very faint floral. So then I'm going to rotate my paper, but I want this bottom corner to be in my little pen mark. So I'm going to pop that in there like that. And I'm going to ink it up again. And I'm going to pop my paper in there, stamp it off once, and then I'm going to stamp it onto the cardstock. So what I have are a very faint little, like a little background. So next thing I want to do is I'm going to pop it back down so it was where it was before. And I'm going to clean the stamp, only because I'm going to be picking it up and I don't want to have ink all over my finger. So I'm just using the Stampin' Up Stampin' Mist, and it's just a stamp cleaner. One thing about photopolymer is that you don't want to be using alcohol or any harsh cleaners on the photopolymer. It's very hard on it. So I'm going to pop this in here like that. I think like that, because I can actually nestle that right in there. Yep, perfect. Okay, and I'm going to pick up my stamp. Now, fortunately, this isn't precision stamping, but I do want it in the right neck of the woods because the photopolymer stamp is sticking to the photopolymer pad. But again, you know, you can use magnets if you're using something without the sticky mat. So then I'm, whew, that was close. So I'm going to stamp it off. And then I'm going to stamp it on. So I'm getting second generation because I just want it to be really, really faint. I just want to have that illusion of color behind there. Now the first one I did, I actually didn't do this. I used an embossing folder. So this was the first one that I did, and I used one of the basics embossing folder. It's retired, but you know what? Keep your embossing folders. They're gorgeous. You can use them like for years. So I embossed it, and I really like that as well. But I thought this is the way Jennifer McGuire did hers, and so I just wanted to show you the technique. So it's pretty cool. But you can do, I mean, it's your artwork, right? You can do whatever you like. All right, so I'm going to pop this back in here. I'm going to stamp it off once, and then bring it down and then stamp it onto my cardstock. And there we have our background. Isn't that pretty? Gorgeous. Okay, so I'm going to grab my eraser. Maybe. As usual, my desk looks like a bomb landed on it, but I did find an eraser, and I'm just going to erase my pencil lines because we don't want that to show. And when you're erasing pencil, make sure that you're using a white eraser, because those red ones that you have on pencils, they will actually leave like a red mark. Ask me how I know. So use a white architect pencil or eraser. You can get them anywhere. I have one somewhere on here, but could be under something. Who knows? All right, so here is my background. Beautiful. The next thing is I'm going to make my card base. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. There. And I think I'm going to use the Petal Pink as my card base and the Flirty Flamingo as my mat. So let me grab my trimmer. So I'm going to cut my card base at 5.5. Now normally what I do is I score at 4 1/4 on the long side. Score it first and then cut it, and that gives me 2 card bases. But today I didn't grab any scraps, and so I need to have an 8.5-inch piece that doesn't have a score line through it. So I'm just going to cut this at 5.5, and I'm going to score it at 4 1/4 so that I'm just making 1 card base for now. I almost grabbed my cutting blade. All right, so I'm going to score it at 4 1/4, and that gives us our card base. And I'm just going to pop it in the corner here with all the 4 corners lined up, and grab my bone folder and just varnish that score line like that. And then that sort of aligns your corners so that you have a nice perfect fold, because sometimes if you don't do that, your corners are off just slightly, and I don't know about you, but that drives me bonkers. All right, so the next thing I need to do is I need a mat that is 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm cutting my Flirty Flamingo at 4 and a 5 1/4. And that's going to be the mat on our card like this. And my little background that we just stamped, what did I do with that? Ah, here it is. I'm going to trim that to 3 3/4 by 5. Am I gonna? No, I'm gonna do it at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 because I want just a smidge of background of the Flirty Flamingo. So by 5 1/8. Now, if I knew what I was going to be doing for the sentiment, I would probably either punch it out or die cut it out of this before we add our background on it, because you know, why waste paper? It's going to be underneath and you're never going to see it. So, but I haven't 100% decided what I'm going to do yet. I kind of have an idea what I'm going to do, but not quite. So we'll see. Yeah, I think we'll see. We'll wait and see. All right. So I've got my background made. My card base is made. And I'm going to take my floral image and I'm going to cut that kind of down the middle. Now there's no right or wrong on this. I'm just kind of thinking where I'd like to cut it. So I'm going to cut it like this. So I've cut it in 2 pieces. So I'm going to glue. Oh shoot, I cut the wrong one. That's my other one. That's okay, I'll make a card out of it anyway. This is the one that we just did. I saw the colors and I grabbed, this is the one that we did earlier, that I did earlier. So we can use that to make another card. But I'm going to take this one and I'm going to cut it down the center. And I'm going to cut it, I think, between these 2 leaves just to give it a little bit of symmetry. Again, it's not an artistic science. You can cut it wherever you like. And so I'm going to glue this onto the white cutout that I had cut out when I cut out the floral. And the reason I'm doing that is I just want it to have a little bit of firmness because I did cut it in half. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue on here. And I'm going to pop it right on here, lining up my edges. And that's why I love liquid glue, because you can adjust if you need to. So now I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm just going to cut right next to our colored piece. And then I'm going to take this piece, the other half, and I'm going to glue it onto here. So let's go ahead and do that. There we are. Beautiful. Okay. There, isn't that lovely? So there's our floral. So now what I need is a piece of the petal pink that is 3/4 of an inch, And I'm doing it on the long side, like the 8.5 inch side. So 3/4 of an inch. And I need a piece of Flirty Flamingo that is 1/4 of an inch. And then I need a piece of gold foil that is 1/8 of an inch. So I'm lining up, let me zoom here a little bit. So I'm lining up, I'll go up here. So if you look at the trimmer, you have like 1.5 inches on this side that you can cut with. This doesn't zoom very well. Sorry about that, you guys. But there's 1/8 of an inch right here. There's 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1 inch. So the first little line there is like 1/8. So I'm going to line up my paper at that 1/8 line at the top and at the bottom. So 1/8 and 1/8. And I'm just going to cut a little strip of the gold foil. Okay. So next thing I need to do is I'm going to put these together. And I'm just going to put a little bead of glue. Can you see what I'm doing here? No, you cannot. Okay. I'm just going to put a little bead of glue along the bottom of the petal pink. And I'm going to pop on the Flirty Flamingo. Like that. Okay, and I'm just going to give that a little quick trim. And then I'm going to take my glue, and same thing, I'm just going to put a little bead along the Flirty Flamingo. Like that. And I'm going to like that. Okay. So isn't that pretty? Love it. Okay, so I'm just going to snip off my little gold piece here. And then I have our pieces for the front here. So let's put our stamped image on top of the Flirty Flamingo. I'm just going to center that right on here. And this is going to go onto the card base like this. But the first thing I want to do is line up how we're going to set up our florals, because I want to be able to trim it while this is not onto the card base, because I want it to end right with the Flirty Flamingo here. So what I need to do is I have packages of, I have a package of the foam adhesive sheets. So I'm just going to grab one. So you get, there's six little sheets in here of the two-sided adhesive with the foam in between. So it's like foam strips, only it's a little sheet. And I'm going to take my trimmer. Now this isn't going to go all the way through the trimmer, unfortunately. But what it will do is give me an idea of where 1/2 inch is. So I'm setting it up at 1/2 inch on the side here. And I'm going to run my blade over it. And it does cut into the top layer, but it doesn't cut all the way through. And then I'm going to line it up again at 1 inch because I need 2 pieces. And I'm going to cut that also at 1/2 inch. So I have one cut at 1/2 inch and one cut at 1 inch. And then I'm just going to take my snips and I'm just going to go through on the cut so that I have a nice straight piece. Now, if you have a little guillotine cutter, you absolutely can use that. When I was doing it this afternoon, I did use a guillotine cutter, but this will work just as well. And you just push it out of the way like this so that you can cut the back paper. Super simple. So that's going to go onto the back of our little strip here. So let's pop this on here like this, right down the center, like that. And I'm going to keep this little piece because I can use it to pop something up later. So I'm just going to pop it back onto the carrier sheet like this. And I'm just going to pop it back in the envelope. Don't waste anything. Okay, so let's see. How do I want this to go? Georgie was on my desk earlier. You wouldn't believe what's on the floor underneath my desk. She just started batting everything and got everything thrown on the ground. So I want this to go like this because I'm going to stamp a little sentiment here. Let me change this. Yeah. And so I think I'm going to put it like, maybe like this. And then these are going to go like this. And I'm going to put this one here like that. I like that. Or you could do it on the vertical like I did on the other one. So I'm going to put one like that maybe, and one down here. Can you hear Georgie banging on the door? Little brat. And then this is going to go like this. So I don't know. What do you think? Should I do it on the vertical or should I do it on the diagonal? Like this. So I'll just wait while you think about it. Or on a more of a diagonal like this. This is going to go this way. I kind of like that. So, yeah, let me know what you think. If I don't get any thoughts, then I will, hi Pam, diagonal? I think so too. I'm kind of liking the diagonal. So I think that this is how we're going to do it. The first thing I want to do though, is I'm going to grab my Stamparatus again. Oh, the photopolymer is sticking to the photopolymer. So I'm going to pull off my stamp here. And I'm going to look at, now I don't think that this stamp is going to fit on my strip. So I'm using the Enduring Beauty and I have the It's Always Been You, which I don't know, that's not a sentiment that I would typically use, to be honest with you. But it would fit, I think. But I'm not loving the sentiment, to be honest. I think what I'll do is I'm going to use the one from the Layers of Beauty that says You Make My Heart Smile that I used on the other cards. And it's just, I think a sentiment for me personally is something that I would use maybe a little bit more. So I'm going to line that up, make sure it's straight. You can hear Georgie banging on the door. She wants to come in. But if she was in, she'd be sitting right on my desk, exactly where I need to be working. All right, so I'm going to pop that in there. Make sure that that's stuck to the sticky mat. Again, if you don't have a sticky mat, just use your magnets. There, I just want to make sure that that's straight. Let's see if that's straight. Yeah, not bad. Okay. Now I have to line this up again because it picked up. It got moved, so I may have to. There. So I am going to grab a magnet just because this is, oh, it won't stick to a magnet. Okay, I'm going to grab a piece of tape because the last thing I want is for it to, oh my God, can you hear her? Georgie, go see Dad. It's if it's 4:45, I have no idea what time it is. 5:30, it's feeding time, and she's like, "What are you doing down here? You should be upstairs feeding me." Okay, so I'm going to actually move that down a little bit. This does not want to stick. Okay. That's looking pretty good. So cross your fingers that it's going to stay stuck. The plain type. Yeah, I agree. The plain type, it's just a little, it doesn't take away from the whole dynamic of the color. This does not want to stick. So cross your fingers that it's going to behave. So I think I'm going to stamp it in Flirty Flamingo. So cross your fingers that if I have to stamp it a second time that it doesn't move. A little goober on my stamp there. There. All right, fingers crossed, you guys. Yeah, I need to stamp it a second time. Yeah, your cats can tell time. Mine can too. And at 5 o'clock every morning, my one cat is a little bit feral and she loves to go outside. And she'll wake me up every morning at 4 o'clock and she wants to go outside. But if it's too cold, we live in Ontario, so if it's too cold, I've gotten up for nothing because she's like, well, I'm not going out there. There, I think that looks okay. So we'll pop that onto here. Oh my God, she's a wild woman out there. Okay, so I'm going to place this kind of like that so that that's centered. So let's pop off the backing from our foam strips. Ooh, don't stick yet. So I'm going to center that and I'm going to pop that like this. Okay, and I'm just going to trim away what I don't need. Okay, so that's that. And then we're going to place our florals kind of like that. There. Isn't that pretty? So let me go ahead and glue up my backing here. Like that. Oh my God, Georgie, go away. And then we'll put the one underneath. She really is the sweetest little cat, but honestly, you know what they say about how crazy black cats are? She totally is. She's very possessive too of me. And if I'm in the house, she's on me. We were away over Christmas, and my neighbor came over and fed the cats. And she's a young girl who would like a cat, and her dad doesn't want a cat. So she's really happy that she can come over and feed the cats. And she stays with them and sits with them for a little while. And Georgie was having none of it. I mean, she would come over and talk to her finally. It took her a while. But she was so annoyed that I wasn't there, she actually pooped on the laundry room floor, much to my neighbor's disgust. Because I think she's a newbie. She doesn't have a cat, and she's just you know, a young girl. And I think she was like, okay, then if this is what it's like having a cat, maybe I should rethink that. But she was lovely. She was very good with the cats, and she would sit. And I think Georgie's starting to warm up to her. Roxy, not so much. Roxy's very timid. I'm just going to shift this over a little bit. Roxy is very timid. She doesn't make friends easily. But Georgie, she's like, if there's a scratch in my head for that, I'll be right over. There. What do you think? Isn't that pretty? So pretty. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is some embellishments. And for this one, I'm using one of the Celebration. No, you know what? I don't think I will. This is the wrong shade of pink. Never mind. Let me see what else I have in my little bag of tricks here. Will that work? Nope. These will work. So these are called the Genial Gems. This is an older one, I think. I use all my gems, so if it's retired, you know, go through your stash and see what floats your boat, see what you have. So this is called Genial Gems. I'm not even 100% sure what color this is. It's kind of like a champagne. And I'm just going to pop a few little gems on here. Just pop that one right in the middle of that flower. And I think I don't usually put 5 gems, but I think it kind of needs something up, like a little bit more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need one more. I always do mine in like odd numbers. There. I think I'm going to move this one. I'm going to put it up here. There. What do you think? Isn't that pretty? Really pretty. So what you could do too is put like another greeting on a banner of some kind if you wanted to. When I was playing earlier, I used the want to say dies to make a happy birthday, but I just could not make it work for me. It's too big. And it just wasn't floating my boat, so I decided not to use it. But you could. I wish we had a smaller happy birthday, and if we do and I'm just not thinking of it, let me know. But it just wasn't grabbing me. Oh, it would be okay down here, I think. I don't know. What do you guys think? But it just wasn't cutting it for me, so I chose not to use it. But you definitely could. But isn't that pretty? So this one is using the Enduring Beauty stamp set. And then on the inside, I didn't do the inside on the other cards because I was trying to get everything done. But on the inside, let me grab a piece of inside paper. I pre-cut my basic white in 2 sizes. I pre-cut some that are 5.5 by 4.25. And then these ones are 4 by 5.25. And I pre-cut them, and I have stacks of them. And whenever I order basic white cardstock, I order 2, one to cut up and one to leave whole. So I'm going to grab my Stamparatus again. And I'm going to clean off, give it a little spritz here. So I'm just using the Stampin' Up Stampin' Mist to clean. Now it's a little bit whiffy. If you have issues with scent, which I actually do have issues with scent, but it doesn't bother me too much. I can't even walk down the aisle of the cleaning products at the grocery store because my throat closes because of all the perfumes and stuff. But this I seem to be able to manage quite nicely. So I'm going to pop this over in the corner like that. How am I going to do that? I think like this. Maybe just like this. A little bit like that. And pick it up. And where's my scrap paper? Here. So what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to use the Petal Pink. Look at my label. It faded so much. I have a lot of sunlight in my room. It looks almost yellow. I only know it's Petal Pink because I know it's Petal Pink. All right, so I'm going to ink up my floral. And I'm gonna stamp it off. And then I'm gonna stamp it on my card. So I just have a very faint little like you can hardly see it. I know the lighting in here is not the greatest, but it's there, but very, very subtle. So that is going to go on the inside of my card. And you could put a sentiment in there. I typically do not put a sentiment inside my card until I'm ready to send it, because different people, I put different types of sentiments for different people. So I choose it as I'm getting ready to send it. Unless it's like a Christmas card or something and they're all going to be the same, then that's what I do. But isn't that gorgeous? So that's that. And then an envelope. I would do the same thing with the envelope. I would just pop that right here. Maybe up a bit. Yeah. So I'm going to pop it there. Same thing. I'm going to ink it up. So I have it about, I don't know, an inch from the bottom. I'm going to stamp it off. And then stamp my envelope. There. There. So there's my card. Close this. Stamparatus just went flying. So there's my card and the matching envelope. Gorgeous. And here are the cards that I made earlier today using the same technique. Aren't they pretty? Let me zoom out a little here. There. So with this one I used, I don't know if I told you what I used. I used Bermuda, is it Bermuda Bay or Coastal Cabana? Coastal Cabana and Pool Party for that one. And then this is Pretty Peacock. And then this I used Bubble Bath and Fresh Freesia. Super cute. And this one I used Daffodil Delight and oh, what's that really pale yellow called? Lemon Lolly. So Lemon Lolly and Daffodil Delight on this one. And then again, this was Petal Pink and Fleur de Flamingo. Super cute. So there. I have a head start on some of my birthday cards for 2025. And I hope you enjoyed this little quick tutorial. Let me go to my main camera here. There. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed these. If you enjoyed, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And if you aren't a subscriber, please subscribe. What the heck is that behind me? I've never seen that before. What the heck? I think we have gremlins. So if you didn't see that, if it's just me, there was like fireworks behind me. I don't know what the heck that was, but anyway, um, again, if you need a catalog and you would like to have one, if you're Canadian and don't have a demonstrator, let me know. I'd be happy to get one out to you. And if you live close to me, you can pick one up here, or I'll drop one off when I'm out and about. And I live in Quinte West, in southeastern Ontario. So yeah. So thanks again. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for helping me out doing this. And I hope you find it fun and would like to try this. It is so simple, and it's always nice to find a different way to use stencils. I don't typically think outside the box. I just don't have that kind of brain. But I saw, as I say, I saw Jennifer McGuire did these about a month ago or so using one of her stencil sets, and I thought that is stunning. So I had to reproduce it. So have a great new year and all the best to everybody. Thank you for your support over the last year. It's more appreciated than you'll ever know. And I just love all the friendships that I've made over the last several years being a demonstrator. And it's really nice to interact with you guys. So thanks again. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon.